Is the ANC in a political crisis? Can the ANC diffuse tensions caused by the recent court ruling on KwaZulu-Natal's 2015 provincial elective conference? What can be made of President Zuma introducing his legal opinion on KZN PEC's court judgment appeal? And is violence and chaos at the Eastern Cape's weekend elective conference a sign of what is likely to happen at the ANC's December conference? What time is it? It's question time. Khotsong and welcome to the show. My name is Mpho Tsedu. The latest developments in the ANC have become a cause for concern to both high-profile and ordinary members. The ANC leadership is currently locked in meetings in KwaZulu-Natal. This follows the outcome of the Pietermaritzburg High Court that nullified the 2015 PEC. As if that was not enough, the Eastern Cape Conference erupted into chaos and violence. A number of members are reported to have been injured in the process. Tonight, Question Time is glad to be hosting a political analyst and a political scientist to unpack the current state of the ANC. We are live and therefore you can call us, air your views. The numbers to dial 089-110-4210. Our Twitter handle at Question Time 24. My guest today, Dr. Pete Crowcamp. He's a political scientist, and joining us from our Pretoria studios, Professor Lisiba Tefu, who is also a political analyst. Let me welcome you, gentlemen, both. Prof, welcome as well. Now, Pete, well, it is undeniable that there's some crisis of a sort. So I guess my question was very much rhetorical. So how would you describe the state of the ANC, this crisis?
Yeah, I think one must be careful to be fixated on what's going on now. I think you have to look back 8 years. I think you have to look back what happened in Mangaung. You have to look back what happened in Polokwane. And I think the instability within the party was already set at the time. And with the concentration of authority within the presidency and within Thabo Mbeki at the time, and then the concentration of authority within the presidency of Jacob Zuma, it inevitably, from time to time, the diverse centers of authority within the ANC will become unstable, and the contestation will become uncivil. And we just see the manifestation of, I think, about 8 years or more than a decade of very unstable politics within the ANC. So it's a crisis, but it's a crisis embedded in a history of at least 10 years or longer.
Narrative. Others are taking Babangwe to court, if it is not court, beating each other up at conferences, and then court cases, more court cases, and all that. What is happening to the party?
Yeah, it really pains some of us because this is a movement many people pin their hope on. And this is indeed a movement that has served the people of South Africa pretty well in the first 10 years. And to see it almost go the route of other liberation movements that possibly may culminate in a failed state is really something that should worry all of us, and to the extent possible, maybe help to redeem the party or help to recover the state from where it is and put it on the trajectory envisioned by the founding fathers. But certainly all is not well in the state of Denmark. And I have known over the years that when a liberation movement reaches this stage, it's almost impossible for it to redeem itself from itself. And I think there are fewer and fewer diehards ANC who can dispute what I'm saying.
But Prof, let's take one case study here, the KZN PEC, and then the president goes on to make his views or produces legal opinion, so to say, which we are told supports the current PEC. Yet the ANC is saying, look, we're going to respect the outcomes of the law, of the courts and all that. What do we make? Is this Chinua Achebe's center?
Mere anarchists loosed upon the people, and the center cannot hold. And if at the top, it cannot hold, what more of the branches and the trunk? Any wind that blows is likely to catapult it into a disaster. I'm not surprised by what the president is doing. I think he's at a stage where he says, I know the doors of prison are open, and whatever can save me and those closest to me who are likely to suffer the same fate, I'll do, and I'll do whatever I can. And in the circumstances, he's now defying the NEC, he's defying the top six, and indeed, he's defying the membership, because those at that level are representative of those who have elected them to go and represent them. And I think, and I understand, it is now in a survival mode, and he will do whatever he can. But what is interesting is that yesterday when I watched the proceedings in the Eastern Cape, and I listened to the tone of some of the die-hard supporters of the president, I thought they were shifting support, loyalty, and the sand underneath was no longer firm enough for them to stay on. And I remember the expression, people follow power where it goes. And I think his support base, his die-hard supporters, are beginning to sense that power is going to Makado, power is going to CR17. Therein lies the future, and politics is about survival, especially for those less qualified to get alternative jobs.
Okay, Prof, hold it there. Muzi, you and Mamelodi, welcome. Okay, Muzi is no longer there. But the number to dial is 089-110-4210, 089-110-4210 is the number to dial. We're going to take a quick break. When we return, we'll be taking your calls, but we'll also be talking about the state of the ANC at the moment. Maybe you were in the Eastern Cape conference. Give us a call. Just give us, your perspective. Whether you were hit by a chair or you voted for the chair. This is question time.
If you ask this wine connoisseur how best to show appreciation for a good wine, he might say something like this. Okay, if you ask us how best to show appreciation, we'd probably tell you to just say thank you.
Get any 2 750ml bottles from the Saints range for 50 Rand from Tops at Spar.
Welcome back. You're still watching Question Time. Our guest today, Dr. Piet Krokamp, is a political scientist, and from our Pretoria studio, Professor Siba Tefu, who's a political analyst, and in Hout Bay in Cape Town, there's Ncedo. Ncedo, welcome.
Kunjani Mpho?
Siphilile akho nto uphilile tata?
Siyaphila mfondini kuhle. Mpho. This guy EFF Floyd.
Yes.
Floyd once said in Parliament, this guy, referring to our president Jacob Zuma, is gonna kill you. He was telling the ANC members or MPs in Parliament. Now, this is what is happening now. This thing of the ANC fighting in conferences, it won't end. I agree with the professor that the president can begin to see now that the center will not hold now.
Yes.
So he's actually losing power. He is using people. I watched this young man in PE. What's his name? Lungisa. Andile. Andile Lungisa appeared with Jacob Zuma in the conference that they stole in PE.
Yes,
in Nelson Mandela. Now it's the same Andile that is doing the same thing, leading people. People were beaten there because this ANC is no longer the ANC of the O.R. Tambo and the Nelson Mandelas. And Zuma is going around claiming that this is the ANC of O.R. Tambo. He has messed with this organization. Zuma, if the ANC is serious in winning the elections in 2019, they better remove Zuma right now.
That's I'm not so sure if that type of view would find resonance within the ranks of the ANC.
Look, I think you can answer a question like that with another question. That is, say for instance you remove Jacob Zuma from the equation over the last 8 to 9 years. What would the ANC have looked like then? Would it have been, and I think the Prof also referred to it, saying that liberation movements over time tend to become unstable until they lose power. Yeah. It does not have to be like that. It really does not have to be like that. Wherever they have lost power, you can always look at the leadership at the time and perhaps the president at the time. And if he loses his way, there's no way a liberation movement can survive. There's absolutely no reason why the ANC couldn't have been a relatively stable organization and still win another 20 years of elections in South Africa. It's got everything to do with the growing patronage, the growing corruption within the ANC. And the thing about this is, if you start to distribute the resource of the state within your party, you will always leave somebody out. And if you talk about the politics of the belly, those who are left out, they will certainly try to gain the power and the authority of the state through their respective structures within the party. So the instability comes from the fact that some people have been left out, this politics of the belly that was driven by Jacob Zuma.
David, you are in Davidton.
Good evening, sir. Thank you for accepting my call.
You're welcome.
Yes, sir, I'm not a member of ANC. I'm an Africanist, but allow me to air my views.
Go ahead.
I think the problem is people are so obsessed with Jacob Zuma, as if the problem started with Jacob Zuma. But I want to tell you, the relevance of the Freedom Charter is at question as we speak now. This is a document that should be questioned. When Robert Sobukwe rose and formed PAC, he was questioning the relevance of the ANC towards the freedom of the masses. If you check now, they are looking for a fall guy. They looked for Thabo Mbeki first. Now there is Zuma will fall. The next president, I want to bet you, my brother, he will only spend, if he's an ANC member, Ramaphosa or Nkosazana will only spend 5 years. And the next term, they won't make it. I thank you.
Thanks very much, David Umafrika, calling us from Davidton. Now, what do you make out of this Eastern Cape scenario?
Of course, that's also been a long time coming. In the same way, I think that KwaZulu-Natal is not a recent phenomenon. It's been a long time coming. But I think the big thing for Gwedi Mantashe is, how do you keep these types of disputes outside of the courts? And there's one important reason why it should be kept out of the courts, and that is it can delay the leadership conference at the end of the year. If it is quite possible, for instance, the KwaZulu-Natal faction or the Zuma faction there appeal, and that appeal takes another 6 months or 8 months to conclude, it means they can say, well, we cannot have a leadership conference under those conditions. So the big battle for Gwedi is, how do you keep the conflicts within the party outside of the courts? And if you can find a resolution within the party, so be it. But if you can find a stalemate where you say, well, let's just keep our horses for now, until the leadership conference, until after the leadership conference. But of course, it'll be very, very difficult if there will always be people who feel that they'll be excluded, and it will come at a massive, massive price to them. And that's the big thing. Whether you are included in the state of the future and whether you're excluded, and too many people feel that they're excluded. My friend and my colleague, Stephen Friedman, actually says what they should be doing is just divide the jobs amongst themselves. Let both factions feel that they get the benefit of the distribution of the resources of the state, or the positions that will lead to the resources of the state. And that will create a degree of stability. And that's true. That's the only way you will create stability, if all the factions feel that they will be included in whatever happens after December.
Let's go to David. David, you are in Lusikisiki. Welcome.
No, thanks. Paul, I would like to just bring to your attention that the ANC actually lost it when they insisted that Jacob Zuma must be president, despite the charges that he was facing at that time. And I mean, for a person who was going to occupy an office, the highest office in the land, to have any allegation against him, to me, they were bound to face what they are facing now. And for me, is that the reason why the ANC there's so much infighting within the ANC, it is clear that they are no longer concerned about alleviating poverty in the communities, bringing the development to the people, proper infrastructure and that stuff, bringing services to the people. So to me, it is all about, because they wouldn't fight I've never seen two people fighting over trying to help somebody.
Yeah.
But in this case, it is clear now that they are fighting because they are corrupt. They are all corrupt. Because no matter who we may think will do better, but you'd find that back in the days, they were affected some way, somehow in corruption.
David, thank you very much for the call. Prof, let me bring you in here. Pitt raises a very interesting point regarding the possibilities around December conference. There are those who've been saying maybe it will not happen. If it was not to happen, who does it serve?
Let me just quickly touch on 2 points and I'll respond to that question.
Okay.
You know, why we argue that the liberation movement tends to fail after 20 years, because they become the victims of the sins of incumbency, inter alia, corruption, nepotism, favoritism, right? And this is exactly where the ruling party finds itself. Now that's number one. Number two, there is a man who says I'm from the Pan-Africanist Congress. Well and good. He talks about, right, obsession with Zuma. It's not obsession with Zuma unless those who are new in this game of understanding South African politics and the African politics. Prior to 1994, there were already people advising us on the things that may lead us into a failed state. 4 years into the new democracy, Mahmoud Mamdani, with Mampela Rampela and yours truly, we were already talking about South African exceptionalism. During Mandela, already the wrong signs were showing. Under Mbeki, the wrong signs were showing. But Mbeki remains a top CEO, as far as I'm concerned. He did the best he could. So it's not about Zuma. It's about an organization that is gradually becoming one of the failed liberation movements. And then coming to your question, namely, will it collapse? Who will benefit? If it were to collapse, it is the ANC, as the ANC, not this or that faction that is going to lose. It is the people of South Africa that are going to lose, because the ANC will be caught up into the infighting rather than to self-correct in order to ensure that 2019 might find them a better and worthy people to reconsider again for a vote. Who will be the winner? The winner in the process is the opposition party. The longer they keep Jacob Zuma into the office, the more likely they will get electoral support from sympathizers and even the membership, including perhaps even the diehard. So it behoves them to really say, as early as now, we start to self-correct, we recall the president, and those implicated in all forms of misdemeanors, we bring them to book. Let the people see justice to be done. Let the people see the rule of law being upheld.
Okay, let's go to Soweto now. Lady Andrew, welcome.
Mbo.
Yes.
And thank you for the guys there on the studio.
You're welcome, Druza.
Mbo, ANC has failed as the people of South Africa dismally. It's time for the ANC to go. Life was better than what the white people and what the black people done. Because of now what they are doing is the survival of the fittest. They just feed in their pockets, their families, they're forgetting about the struggle. ANC, come 2019, Mbo, they have to go. We need to get the white people back in, because the white people, black people will never go to bed with an empty stomach. Mandela was said, if the ANC is not going to be complying, vote them out the way you voted the apartheid regime. And Bishop Tutu once said to them, we will pray for you the way we pray for apartheid regime to go out of power. It's time for the ANC to go. Let's bring DA and EFF to run this country because they've got vision. ANC is all about power mongering. They fight for families and friends. They have to go. We enough with these people. They must go. Thank you.
Rosa, thanks very much for the call.
You know what the problem with that is, that, and I think it goes with what the Prophet said in the last election, last year, August, and that's the bigger danger than people voting for the opposition parties. 3 million South Africans said we're not participating, we're not voting. The EFF made a little bit of headway from 5.4 to 8.4%. But South Africans, when they get tired of the political system that they have in their leadership, they just stop participating, and that had much more devastating consequences for the ANC than even if they voted for the opposition parties, because it is quite likely that in the next election the EFF may go up, say, to 13 or 14 or 15%, and there's a coalition government at least in Gauteng and most likely in one or two other provinces as well. But that's not our big problem. The big problem is that South Africans are withdrawing from the political system because they do not trust it anymore. They question the legitimacy of it, and together with that, they question the legitimacy of the constitution and democracy, and that's our big fear.
Let's go to Rustenburg. Ntateson. Ntateson.
And also I must greet your guest there, Mpo.
Yes.
Mpo, you know where lies the problem?
Yeah.
The main problem is from us as the voters. You know, the voters, Mpo, are the one who got the key within themselves. Because the voters can see this whole mess up every day, every night, but they remain silent.
Yeah.
Come the election day, the poorest of the poor, those who've been seeing all these wrongdoings, are the one going up and down the whole day, the whole night, going in and cast their vote to put those ANC back into government.
Okay.
People from the villages can see the whole corruption, the whole mess up that Zuma and ANC, what they are busy doing. But they are so pleased to can say, no, we are satisfied because maybe perhaps they just begging for grants and, I don't know, and tenders.
Okay.
Let us put these people again into power.
Okay.
You know, South Africa is going down the drain for.
So
foreign investors are busy leaving South Africa gradually.
Okay.
We'll end up having no foreign investors within this country, and all people will be sitting at home without job.
Thank you very much, Ntateson. They're calling us from Rustenburg. Well, we've run out of time, but Prof, I want to give you an opportunity which you never get to address the nation, or rather, maybe let me cut it down a little bit. The ANC NEC, if you were to address them in 30 to 45 seconds, what would be your message to the NEC?
You have served the people of South Africa pretty well. You have got a wonderful track record. But in the last 5-10 years, you lost the moral compass. You lost the vision that the founding fathers had. But people are more generous. People are more forgiving. If only you were to find it within yourself and have the courage of your own convictions that has come to characterize the likes of Makosi Khoza, and say in one voice, it is not about Jacob Zuma, but removing him will take us some distance. If indeed we were to say cadre deployment is deferred, and we shall appoint people on merit, and we shall ensure that we act on all those misdemeanors that have come to make us synonymous with rot and corruption. I have faith and believe in some of the leadership some of the members of the ANC, that they can rebuild the organization. They can take the country forward. It is within them. They must have the courage of their own conviction.
Prof, thank you very much, and thanks to you, Peter, for making time to come and analyze the state of the ANC. That was question time for today. Big thank you to my guests and to you for watching this show. From me and the entire crew, I have a